DJ now. All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Sir Tommy P., Defender of the Faith.
And I am Empress Emily.
And we are the Nephilim Murder Crew here with a Saturday night show for you guys. We are here with Nick from the Occult Rejects. Say hi to everybody, Nick.
Sorry. What up? How are you?
So
my mic was muted.
Yeah. So you want to tell everybody who you are and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Nick from the Occult Rejects. That for people who don't know that show, it's probably at this point now, it's probably a group of I'd say 8 to 10 individuals that we all cover topics together. Not always at the same time. Sometimes only be 3 to 5 of us, but it is a show that does cover occultism in multiple different ways and magic. We do touch on true crime sometimes, or just, try not to be political, but sometimes we do touch on politics in a sense. But yeah, we got that going on, and that is on BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, and all major podcasts. And myself, just real quick, I am an occultist. I consider myself an occultist. I'm a magician. I have practiced magic. I do believe I have crossed the abyss. Yeah, and I try not to promote it. When I first came out into the community, I was really heavily pushing that I was an ex-member of the OTO. Not that I'm ashamed of that, or I'm not trying to talk about that. It's just sometimes I feel like that gets focused on too much instead of other stuff that'd be useful for. But yeah, I was in the OTO for about 6 years, and I did a few initiations while I was there, and left because I decided it was not for me, and it did not emulate the vision of magic, in my opinion. I thought the people were going backwards and not forwards, so they had nothing to offer me, so I left.
Okay.
Sounds smart.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of touches on one of the things we're going to talk about, the crossing the abyss, the near-death experiences.
Yes.
Stuff. So,
yeah, I'm glad you brought up the near-death experience, because just to keep it just I guess going forward, some things I may say may seem a little weird or out there, but you can go and even go check out people with near-death experiences and find out that there is a lot of commonalities amongst them and things that I'm going to be talking about. So, you can even go look into that stuff.
Yeah, no, the Catholic Church has documented near-death experiences tremendously, actually, and actually has approved many of them as, the church says, yes, this actually happened. Everything from seeing purgatory to come back with messages to all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, yeah, near-death experiences, you're going to get no arguments here about that. You know what I mean?
Completely believe it.
Yeah. Now, there's different angles to it. Obviously, there's people that, like we talked about on Nate's show about flatliners, that type of thing, where people literally do something to check themselves out,
Yes. Yeah, that, I mean, that I guess that's kind of where I do go with it in a sense. Again, I was talking about the NDEs. I think that's an easy way to say it, but from my experience, after messing with magic a few times, I started to realize what's really going on, and just from other people that I know of that I've come in contact with. I mean, I hate to say it, but death is like an actual real aspect of magic, and that movie Flatliners is like that shit goes on. Like if you can take yourself out and bring yourself back, I would be tempted to do that. I mean, I'll be totally honest with you. If there was a situation like that where I was guaranteed to be and then brought back, that's way quicker than me meditating for 45 minutes. Let's get it on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Probably a little more authentic too. You know what I mean?
But no, I would actually contemplate doing that because it's the same exact thing. It's just
when in Rome.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would. I mean, I think most people, if given a chance to get a glimpse at the other side, would jump at it. You know what I mean? Like answer all those questions. Is there an afterlife? Is there a God? Is there what am I going to see when I get there? Yeah. Like
no, thank you.
Yeah, I'm good with just waiting. Yeah. There's you know, I don't know. That's a tough one.
So it's a no thank you from me.
Yeah, no,
so I'll stay here. Yeah,
right?
I'll explain to everybody what happened. I'll be like, well, what happened is they
motherfucker didn't come back.
Yeah.
And I said, no, thank you. And you know, but here I am to tell the story. I didn't do this on purpose. They did this to themselves for science.
Yeah. Why is he all retarded? Well, there's a story behind.
Well, yeah. This one time.
This one time. Fuck.
Oh goodness. Yeah. So and my take on it is that you can do the meditative stuff. Back, I don't know, probably like 10-ish years ago for myself, I got into doing the subconscious reprogramming. Like I really thought that there was something to that. Do I think that the YouTube videos work? I don't know, but I watched Dexter as a child and Parma du fromage. Something happens when you listen to something while you sleep on repeat. It really does like sink into your subconscious.
I think so.
Yeah, so my understanding of that stuff about 10 years ago, in my experiences with that, I'm like, I can completely get where the occult people, the magic people, the whatever you want to do, like any of that stuff, I get where you guys can actually have experiences and by doing more, by adding something to it, then you'd get something else out of it. So like I believe it, and the other side of it is it's all about the intention, whether it's a positive intention, a religious intention, or like a negative intention. If you put the intention into it, that's what makes it like a valid, you know, like air quotes, valid experience. And if there's enough people out there doing something for their own benefit or whatever they think they have to do for this thing, like, I don't know, it's a weird exchange of energy that more people are doing in a bad way.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I agree with that too. I don't even think rituals should even really are needed. That was like another thing I did when I had like going forward, like even when I had these experiences, only one time, and I stopped doing the rituals, thinking like something's wrong here. That was really weird. After that, everything was just through meditation. So that's something I want to add. That like I even stopped doing rituals, and I still was able to do it or have the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know, my thought process, I guess the rituals are for specific beings, specific entities, maybe more on the darker side, and that's why the experiences might be a little off.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you're working with too, or what you think you're working with.
Right. Yeah, of course.
I mean, another thing, even not to get into too deep into it, because this would be a whole like an episode in itself, but like a lot of the rituals, like all right, in the OTO or the Golden Dawn, and like some other ones, you will probably pretty much use some of the same basic formulas of rituals. The banishing pentagram, the invoking pentagram, the banishing planetary one, hexagram, and the invoking. You'll probably be using those a lot. And just in my opinion, from the way that it's done and the way your movements are and what you're dressed in, I think you're actually, believe it or not, you're actually mimicking an eyeball.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
The way that the pupil screws closed is the way that the magician is spinning in his black robe, which is your pupil. And the way that the eyeball pulls open is by the four corners, like a cross. And you're going to each corner and basically doing something and then spinning closed. Like, in my opinion, you're actually I've seen architecture too that will show like 4 people looking like they're holding robes and like falling in water and stuff. I think that's actually literally like you're destroying the gods that are holding your pupil open and you're screwing it closed. Because you're going to have to screw one of your eyeballs closed and shoot light into the back of your head to have a magical experience.
Hmm.
I know it's like a lot hard to explain with like, people who may not understand much of what I'm saying, but it would take a long time for me to like show examples and like really pull up eyeball parts and do this and do that. But I do think I have possible thing.
You might be onto something. Keep digging.
Yeah, because even the thing is, I'm like even wondering like are the rituals themselves, like if you actually were to pay attention to what you're doing and everything, is it even just showing you like something in physiology, something back to the eyeballs again?
Oh, almost like a mirror of something, like a
Yeah.
don't forget what this is and how it works situation.
Or it even could be like there's another layer here for the people that actually understand.
Yeah.
Because that's like another thing too. Just so my parents, if you haven't crossed the abyss, you will never understand Crowley's work. You'll never understand most people's work because they have, and they're talking about that in there. And if you haven't had the experience, you won't know what the hell they're saying, and you'll misunderstand everything they're talking about. Because like you can use like certain like animals. Like I always like there's certain things like when I tell my story, if I do it here, there's certain things I have to refer to because I can't even actually tell you. There's no word in English or any language that I know really to explain something that I'm trying to explain. So I'll have to revert back to like I felt like I was butterflies.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's I can't even explain, like I've never heard. I've never even had this experience to even refrain back to a feeling. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the only time I've ever had that feeling. So how do I have a word for it? It's just something I felt. So I have to like go to something that I can think that describes it a little bit.
Yeah.
So when you start doing shit like that, you start using art for certain things, and you're like, oh, okay, I see all those things that kind of matches the physical feelings I was feeling when I was dying.
This is translated to reading the Bible. There's literal stuff, there's allegorical stuff, and then there's the metaphorical stuff, right? And there's just some things that there is an actual language for, so you have to.
Yes, or like archetypes and shit like that. Yes.
Right. Yeah. And then that also
huge with that stuff. It's beautiful, beautiful stuff in that sense.
Yeah, and that's so. I guess my main thing I wanted to try to spin into this conversation is that it's not super uncommon and weird and one-off what you do and how you experience it. It is in the sense that it's not like you're not reading the Bible and meditating on the words that you've read and like doing that sort of an exercise. Because in Catholicism, for the mass amount of time that was the situation, all of your monks, all of your nuns, all of your religious life people, that's what they would do. They would sit there and they'd have these deep meditative experiences, and that's how they would get these revelations. That's how some of these people were able to write their huge bodies of work. This is how specifically I wrote it down so I didn't forget to mention it. Saint John of the Cross,
Hell yeah.
his poem Dark Night of the Soul, like that came to him in one of these very deep meditative reflective yeah, and so and that's where I'm like, I think it's completely normal. I if it was me, I wouldn't do it that way. But I also run my life back at some point in my life. I did do it that way because that's what I was aware of doing, right? Like I was the nose ring having woo woo girl, whatever. It made sense. So, but now, be going through RCIA and becoming Catholic, I understand why that was a drive within me and why it's something that I was even capable of doing because we are supposed to be able to do these things. It just has to be oriented the proper way. And not like you're doing a wrong way or anything. It's just
no, I hear what you're
saying. And also how you tell other people don't do this. I do this. Don't do this.
Also,
if you do
though,
this, it's not gonna be so fun.
if it can be.
Oh no, I think people should experience magic. I'm just not going to tell them how to do it.
Right? Yeah. You got to figure it out on your own.
But yes, if it can be used for good, like Saint John of the Cross and other Catholic mystics and monks, then obviously it can be used for bad too.
Right. Yes.
And probably everything in between.
And everything. Yes, you are correct. And that's where again the intention of it all comes into play.
You were talking about the Catholic Church. I don't know. Have you listened to like my show at all? It's okay if you haven't. It's not.
I
Listen to a little
listened.
bit.
He listened to a little bit. I listened to 4 episodes specifically on
I just wanted to ask you to tell you about the intro. Believe it or not, that's actually Saint Hildegard's music, which probably be surprising to a lot of people.
Yeah.
okay.
That's her vocals. I covered her. She was another one. All those things was due to deep meditation.
Yes, absolutely.
All of those visions, the idea of her, she was the first person to start harmonizing.
That's awesome. I didn't
Yo,
know.
yeah. She was having people sing in different octaves.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's where you get this
That
knowledge
lady
from.
was into some. She got a lot. She talked to God in those
Yeah.
meditations.
That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, God or angels or somebody on the
Yeah,
right
yeah.
side, not the fallen
Yeah, no,
angels.
that lady's a gangster. I wouldn't have put her voice in my intro if I didn't have high respects for the lady.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's like that's why like we didn't want to shy away from this conversation with you. Being Catholics, like it's not a necessarily a bad thing. It's because
You would have seen my setup, you would have thought it was a Catholic church.
yeah, but like we can't deny the existence of it because it's in our own tradition and culture. You know what I mean? And
Right.
a lot of Christians try to deny the existence of it, or it's all nonsense, or look at and it's like
And being dismissive of it doesn't do you any favors.
Right.
Pretending the boogeyman doesn't exist doesn't keep him from fucking with you. Just like, and this is where I get frustrated with Christianity as a whole, because I'm like, y'all ignoring this problem doesn't help us at all. Like, what the fuck are y'all doing? That's like saying, no, there's no hole in the ship. It's like some of us are bailing water and some of us are like fucking patching holes. And you're like, no, that hole's not there. What are you talking about? That's all made up.
yeah. Ugh.
Wild.
But yeah, meditation, serious
Yeah.
stuff. When it comes to like the abyss stuff, was there anything that you guys had questions about specifically about that, or I
So-
mean,
You could riff on it however you would like to.
Yeah. I know you've got a story about this, which I'm
I guess
actually
my-
interested to hear.
Yeah, I guess
so-
my only clarification question would be like the abyss, as in like the river of Hades abyss. Like you crossed over and
like
came back.
Crossing the abyss, in my opinion, is you've gone into spirit and then came back into the flesh.
Oh, okay, all right.
Or like I would say astral travel might, kind of start. You could argue maybe that might be as well.
yeah, that's it's a little
a
different.
little bit down, in my opinion.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all.
I think like astral projection type thing is completely different than what we're talking about.
Yeah, but I don't discredit those as something. So
No, the CIA did a whole lot of time and money on that shit. So
yeah,
Probably,
there must be something
probably
to
for
it.
some. Yeah.
yeah, there's always something to it. But yeah, no, like you just kind of share your experience here. I'm curious to hear.
Yeah. First, I just want to say I never promote drug use for magic or spirituality at all. There was no drugs involved when I was doing this. I just want to make that clear. I wasn't even smoking weed at this point. I had stopped smoking for a while, like 17 years actually. I think I had almost stopped smoking for. So there was no drugs, no alcohol. So I'm not promoting the use of that. Because it seems like a thing recently is like to push hallucinogenics, and there was none of that used. And again, only the first time did I ever use a ritual. Every time after that, which is even different, like the experience and the visions I'm going to give you now have all been done just from meditating in a chair or laying in my bed. I did not have to do a ritual or start doing any of this crazy stuff. So I want people to understand that too, that maybe these rituals aren't needed.
They're not necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, like I know we talked about it before, I just want to highly stress that I do think it's important for people to look into the eyeballs. I'm not going to get into it too much here, but like I could even tie that into stuff with my experience. But the eyeballs is something of value to look into, in my opinion, when it comes to deep occult symbolism. So like eventually, I guess I'll just get at it. Like when I go into a meditation, or when I used to originally, there was times that like I would just do certain exercises to get myself like in the mindset. Whereas I would just like visualize like light coming in and going through my body and going back out. I would just keep on visualizing and trying to hold that and try to like cut out other voices and just stick with one thought. And then sometimes for the most part after that, I would go on to chakras and I would start like, going down my chakras, going up and down. Eventually, like what happened when I had the weird experience when I was doing the ritual, I remember at one point it was called the middle pillar ritual. And that one, you kind of touch on the 5 out of 7 chakras. And I would do it like I would do my ritual. I would do all my banishing stuff. I would probably banish the elemental properties, and then I would banish planetary properties. And then sometimes I would go into a meditation to even like think about what I'm about to do next, or to try to get myself like just set on that idea. And sometimes I would use the middle pillar ritual to try to do it. And at one point, you do focus on your pineal gland. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to hold that shit for a while and just push on it. And I had like a weird experience. But like after this, I'm thinking like, all right, I'm not going to do the ritual work because I thought it was the ritual work that did it. It just gave me a weird experience. I'm just going to meditate. So like it's kind of funny how like I even remember going back, like I was pushing on my pineal gland and something weird happened. I guess I'm just gonna do it now. Since I didn't do the ritual, I guess I'll be okay. Like it's like almost like it was kind of mind fucking myself. And so I started doing that, and I had realized that when I pushed on it hard enough, all of a sudden like it started like if you meditate for a while, let's say like 20 minutes, to me it looks darker in 15 minutes in than it did 2 minutes in starting. I don't know why. It just seems like it gets darker the longer you're more focused on meditating. So it was like really dark, and then it almost looked like black oil or paint was being dropped on something that looked black, and it's just like spreading out more. And so it's like black, but now it's like really black, and it starts to spread out, and like around it almost even starts to look like little fine lines of burning lines. It almost looks like an oil slick in a road. So it's like almost like you have these fine burning rainbow colors around the blackness as it's spreading out.
Like an
oil.
Like,
yeah, very much. Yeah. So that happens, and then like sometimes will even look like, and I've questioned, and it sounds weird, but I'm questioning: is there like something going on inside me to where something's going on with light to give the visual effect of a wave, but it starts to look like black water or something moving. But again, like if you use light and flash it on something the right way, you can make it look like it's moving. I know that sounds like too much, but I have questioned that. But it starts to look like a black wave. Some people telling me maybe it's the black goo that you hear about, but it looks like it's moving, and then all of a sudden it just like stops, and like everything starts to get like silent too. And then like this like little white dot, this burning white dot like shows up. And like at that point, it's like I almost have to, it's really weird. It's like wherever I see it, it's like I almost have to like hold it with me pushing on my pineal gland, or it like kind of moves. It sounds crazy, but it's almost you have to like lock onto it and hold it. And then like it will get like a little bit bigger. And it will start to look like, as crazy as it sounds. Did you guys ever use those viewfinders back in the day where it made things look like it was 3D?
Oh, yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
it almost looks like something. Again, this is something I can't even explain because it's just fucking weird, and I don't know any way to explain it. It looks like that, like kind of like you have like it makes it look like 3D through like layers of shit, and it looks like this burning dot, and there's like layers of like outlines of something that looks like clouds, and then it starts to get bigger. And then like you see black start showing up in the middle. So then it starts to look like an eclipse as it grows. And then like it gets to its certain size, and then I'll start seeing explosions around it. Or it looks like explosions like of like colors and stuff like around the eclipse. It's kind of like I'll get to eventually my logo, that eclipse with the roses around it.
Yeah.
At some point when it starts to be like the color red, at one point it looks like it's just plainly red. Again, with the way I was saying that you see these like curves and these designs of like lines around it, it starts to almost look like roses blooming around it. So that's why I have the roses around the eclipse to like symbolize the vision that I've had, or it looks like to me.
All right.
So that starts happening, and then after that, I will see colors come out of all 4 cardinal directions. It's normally red, green, blue, and purple. It's just always seemed to have been those colors. And they'll come out a little bit and it will start spinning, just like a swastika, and it looks just like one. Hate to tell you. That will start spinning and all those lines will start coming down like you're in a hallway. And then you see yourself on the Rainbow Bridge, basically, what people talk about. And it starts coming a little bit closer. And then all of a sudden, these geometric shapes will start showing up and spinning and start flashing at me, like coming down, like. And then I don't know if you could see, like, I've posted it before, and it's the thumbnail that's like on the video that I'm streaming out now. I had Mario from Symbolic Studies make this vision for me. It's almost done. That's actually coming from like a vision. This is a common vision that I see, and this is right before I blast off. You'll start seeing it almost looks like movie reels coming out of the middle of the eclipse now and going really slow. Or another way to explain it is if I was standing in a train station and I had 2 trains coming the same way and they were going slow, but like everything was missing except for the window. So like I was like seeing different visions just going. That's the movie reel. I'm seeing different cells.
Yeah.
And sometimes one has nothing to do with the next one. And it's just coming down like really slow. And like most of the time, I've never really given much care to them because I'm just like, oh, what's coming next? Or I knew what was coming next and I didn't care about the windows. I just like, all right, let's get this going. One time I got interested in it and I thought I guess, started to think, which normally it's like almost like you're not thinking when you're watching this. You're kind of just there witnessing it.
Experiencing it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I started to think like, oh, what are those things? And it's like I kind of hovered and moved. And again, I have no body. It's just like my vision is changing. And I kind of like just looked into it and I'm like, it kind of looks like either like a nuclear blast or like Arizona or something. Like I couldn't tell like what I was looking at, just looked desolate and rocks and stuff. And I was like, that doesn't look too appealing. And then like it came out of it. Going forward, anytime I ever have this experience, as soon as I think of self, I come out of it. I'm pretty sure that's fucking it all up.
Yeah, you're not allowed to think of self in those situations.
Yeah, because then now you're not a part of the all because you just separated yourself by giving yourself a label.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing that that you do find in like the Christian meditative practices and stuff. Like anytime I try to get into like my hour of prayer or anything of that, like if I get that one thought like, oh, look at me go, I'm almost done, I'm out of it, I'm done, I'm like and now all of this is for naught because like I'm not even into it because I'm almost done. Now I'm thinking of the next things I have to do and it's going to take me 15 more minutes to get back into this this place I was
once
before.
The first intrusive thought hits, it's over. It's done. Once as soon as you quit quieting your mind, it's over. It's like, all right, that's good. You can't just get back into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least I can't. Maybe it's self-training. I don't know.
Once you're kind of like in that experience, I don't think like you can be kind of a pain in the ass to bounce back, I think, too.
Right. Yeah. Once you're already that deep in it.
So eventually these things that are going will go away. And then like it gets like a little bit closer, kind of, or I might say around the same way. And then the black, you know how like a moon will wax and wane one way, or the eclipse goes, left to right, whatever. This started going like the black sphere in front of the white sphere started to lift up. And it's as soon as it starts to lift up, you'll see like a slit of the glowing and then the black circle. It basically looks just like Thoth's headdress. You'll see a crescent and then another sphere on top of it. And it starts to lift up really slow. And as soon as it like kind of comes off of it and goes up, that white light just like, well, this is another thing too. I've already left out the feelings. I'll have to go back to them. But at this point, this whole time, I am holding that pineal gland. This whole time this is going on, I'm putting pressure on it and just experiencing the vision. And like I'm pretty much even, there's another weird thing. I pretty much have to put my eyes cross-eyed and like look up and focus on the pineal gland. You'll feel pressure on it. And then when that black thing comes off, feels like something snaps. It literally feels like something just happens. and then you see this sphere come like flying at you in your vision, and like you almost like literally feel like you got shot in the fucking head. It's like you feel something happen, and then like in this moment around this time is where I start to even feel in my body that like from my feet up it just starts to like disappear. Like it almost feels like it's just like
turning into
going.
fog.
Yeah, and then like eventually after it starts feeling like it disappears, like it'll feel like I have this flow of like water going through me. A lot of times they say like it's like if I lay down on the beach and somehow when the water
Oh,
crashed
like,
and rolled up
yeah.
to me, it would just like went through my body, not around it. You actually feel like something, water almost flowing through you and like building up to here. And then all of a sudden, like right where you would keep, if you were Jewish and you had your yarmulke, right in that same spot, it feels like that my soul is like, it feels like something's slipping out. And like you literally, like it feels like you're like becoming weightless. Like you can almost feel like it's so weird, like something pouring off of you as it feels like it's coming out.
Mhm.
And then like when it fully comes out, it's like, and like I feel like I again burst into a million butterflies, and you just feel like you're getting spread out, and it's like fluttering, and like it literally almost feels like you're getting stretched out in all directions, like you're almost part of like the fabric of what you're witnessing. And in that moment, the only thing I can explain the way I feel is that you know, I've explained like the feeling of love here. To me, it just feels like it's like a million times amplified, and there's no like thought of anything. It's just a feeling. I have no thoughts of like worries. I have no hate. I have no fear. There's no guilt. There's no whatever. It's like
Almost
literally
like
just
contentment.
feel like just feels love, and I'm just like, this is amazing just to be a part of whatever I'm a part of. I'm not questioning anything. It's just happening, and I'm just going with it, and it just feels like an intense feeling of love. Nothing I could ever express here. And then just something happens to where I start wondering what I'm doing or where I am, and then that just fucks it all up. But coming back, this is the crazy shit. And this is where, like, for me, this is where the judgment I really think comes in on somebody, or at least it does for me. It sounds nuts, but like you're gonna come out of this knowing shit you didn't know prior. It sounds crazy. It's almost like some Matrix shit. I mean, you're not gonna know kung fu, like you know, Neil's like, oh, kung fu. But you're gonna understand things probably that you couldn't wrap your head around before. You're
Yeah.
gonna see visions and things that are gonna make you believe stuff like a knowing instead of a faith. It can get, you know, you can start believing things that is very hard for you to believe that can go very much against your prior belief system that you held your whole life. But like in my opinion, this is when like if that was an experience with God, I look at it this way. That's how I'm taking it. Maybe it wasn't God, but for me, if I just had an experience with God and I was blessed with like some understanding that I didn't have,
Mhm.
for me, after that experience, I need to go tell other people about it and try to explain it to them and tell them that they can have the same experience. If I did it, you can. Unfortunately, I think what normally happens is that people have these experiences and they realize that they can use these experiences to manipulate humanity.
Oh, well,
As
yeah.
crazy as it sounds, you know, you will understand
Because
if
then
you
the
understand
information
these
is gatekept. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I do believe that's like you could even go in with the best intentions and actually turn out a complete piece of shit after the fact.
Yeah.
You know,
I also I'm a firm believer, and I know a lot of people on this screen right now might disagree with me, but like it all depends on what you're contacting out there, and I think rituals have a lot to do with it. Rituals usually tend to be for contacting a specific thing out there, entity, being, fallen angel, whatever you want to call them. You know, I tend to think that most of the people are contacting the fallen angels, the same ones from they were spoken in the Bible. The same reason in the Old Testament Bible it tells Christians, don't mess with this stuff. This stuff is real, it exists. Don't mess with it because most likely you're going to wind up contacting one of these people. They'll give you knowledge for a price. You know what I mean? And the price is usually your eternal soul.
yeah, that's why I don't promote people that have to do rituals at all.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the difference between the experiences you're having now and the ones that you had, or the one that you had when you did a ritual.
Yeah.
You know,
That the one with the ritual was not worth doing the ritual again.
I think a lot of people go into this good intentions, the wrong type of entity, and then all of a sudden now they're pieces of shit. You know.
Well, I'll even say the experience I had after the ritual was much more fucking crazier than the prior one. So, like, it really, yeah. The other one, I just felt like, real quick, it was like when I was pressing on my pineal gland, it was like a flash of light happened, and I felt like I stepped into like an HD TV, and it looked like I was in Egypt for like 30 seconds, and then that was it. I didn't have any of those other visions. It's just that freaked me out enough because I was like, I've never the thing again, the colors or the
You
way
mean
things.
you mean
even
the
ex-
same Egypt the same Egypt that the demons was banished to wander in until they find some new person to inhabit? That
Oh,
Egypt?
yeah, I haven't
That
heard of
Egypt?
that one, but I guess I guess that Egypt. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, no,
But
it's I think it's in Matthew or something.
well, I could probably
About
say I
the
experienced
demons are
anywhere,
banished.
and we could tie back some horrible things to it, so it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Now, I could have been in the United States and be like, oh, you know how we fucked the fucking Indians over?
oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Right. Many a red man died here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey. Sorry, that might have been a little too crass. My
No,
apologies.
it's all right.
As a
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Just seeing sand, I'm assuming it was Egypt. It could have been fucking anywhere in Africa.
right, yeah, just saying.
Right,
Right.
yeah,
For all I know.
yeah. Anywhere in the Sahara.
Could have
Yeah,
been
yeah.
dudes for all I know.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that was like the only thing I could really reference to. I was like, why does it look like there's tons of sand here?
Right.
there's so much
But yeah, that weirded me out enough to where I was like, I don't want to fuck with rituals because like that wasn't, you know what the thing was, that wasn't like the end game for me. So that
Yeah.
weirded me out. You know, I wasn't going for something like that. So I was like, what the fuck? I was like, maybe I should just stick to the basics.
Yeah.
And it seemed like meditation took me farther.
Yeah. That's a good takeaway. I endorse meditation. Go ahead and do that. Do that part of it.
But yeah, I get physical feelings into yeah. And like I said, coming back though, I know it sounds crazy and weird, but you will understand things that you normally didn't. I mean, that was even the shit that got me to start looking into the eyeballs, and like that blew me away once I started to. I was like, where the hell did I even get that idea from?
Right.
You know, it was just
Ugh.
yeah, that in my opinion, and then like the whole thing with again with the feelings that I felt and some of the visions that I've seen, I do believe that you'll see that in a lot of, well, in my opinion, Renaissance art too, but like you'll see that in a lot of occult symbolism. And again, like if you didn't have that vision or have that feeling, unfortunately sucks. I don't think like most
It
people
wouldn't resonate with you, and you wouldn't recognize it for what it was.
That's why I push it Eclipse in all my shit now, because like I know I'm not the only one, first off, who sees it, because there's other people that I know and other people have told me, but it does seem to be a commonality of a vision. So I put it out there just to, anybody else has seen it.
A beacon, a signal of sorts.
Yeah, that, and just like, not for nothing, that's even just to state my claim amongst the other occultists that are out there hiding behind the mask. I've seen the same shit you have, motherfucker. I'm no different. It's
Right.
basically like shooting my own horn to the undercovers.
Those of you hiding behind the anon counts.
Oh God, yeah, there's some magicians, man. Get people
Oh,
believing whole shit.
Well, they have the Magic 101 book from Barnes and Noble. That's obviously something.
Yeah. Those are the type of people that just get themselves in trouble.
Yeah, well, there's a lot more of them.
Yeah. People that just dabble in stuff they have no understanding of because it might be fun.
That's just like uncontrolled chaos. But then you have the people who actually do it for a reason with intention, like for their own benefit repeatedly, along with the random chaos people. I don't know. It gets messy.
Yeah, I mean, that is one thing I like to say, that I mean, I wish, like, if what I even said was even like really a part of magic, and nobody ever told me that shit before. Nobody ever told me that that's what it was about. That was like even another thing that I was mad about the OTO about. I was just like, you guys got like people really believing magic is some other fucking bullshit. Like, this isn't something for just anybody to play with. Like, you really should kind of have an idea what the hell you're getting into. Because
Yeah.
it's going to change your life. You're not going to be the same person if you happen. I had it accidentally to an extent. I mean, I was pushing myself somewhere, but I didn't know it was actually going to happen.
Right.
Right.
You know
And
what I'm
honestly,
saying?
Yeah. And usually when you have big organizations, OTO or anything like that, generally there's a group of people up higher somewhere that have everybody else pushing to their ends and they're not aware of it. You know what I mean? They're just kind of telling you to do some things, and you have no idea what you're doing, or I'd say most of these people probably have no idea what they're doing, and it's to benefit the few people, at the top or whatever.
Yeah, the handful of people who participated.
Yeah, it's like any big organization, any organization at all. There's always somebody at the top benefiting from what everybody else is doing.
Yep. Oh, you know, there's another thing I wanted to mention too. I did lightly touch on it, but I did find this interesting. Anytime I ever have a magical experience, or like this times, I'll be totally honest with you, I can bring myself to that experience up until like the movie reels, and then I'll cut it off. I'll bring myself to there, but I haven't really, like, it's been a minute since I've actually gone all the way again. My pupils will always change. My right one will always get really small, and my other one will either stay the same or get a little bit bigger. Every fucking time. I've even taken pictures of it and like shown. One time I think I posted it on Twitter, but I've even shown people.
They don't like redilate the same?
No. I've even gone to the doctors. One time when I fucked with this shit, I was blasting. I blast off like 3 times in a week. I was like, yeah, this fucking is awesome. I was loving it. I'll be totally honest with you, which is another reason why I stopped fucking with it, because it's addictive.
Yeah.
It's the only time, for me, it's the only time I'll ever feel those experiences. There's nothing like dying and nothing like the abyss unless you experience it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you wouldn't know what an orgasm felt like until you had one.
Yeah.
So, so to me, it was addictive, but like, I did it like 3 times in a week, and long story short, I ended up going to the hospital because I was like, there's something the fuck wrong with me. I don't know what the fuck's going on. My eyesight was getting crazy. My body did not feel right. It was just weird shit. And there was, interesting enough, the doctors were the one who even told me about my eyes. I didn't even realize it before I went there. They're like, your eyes are pinned. They're like, they had someone look at me, kind of briefly. They said, you seem all right, but you're gonna have to go to a specialist. The specialist eventually told me, like, your fucking eyesight's fine. They're like, they had no idea what was wrong. And in between the 2-week period, it started going back to the same, and eventually did. But like, even when I went to the hospital, I had the eyes pinned. I even had an issue with my blood, which I find very interesting. The hemoglobin level, again, I don't know much about this stuff. You're normally supposed to be 13 or 14. I think mine shit was like 19.6 or something. And they said it was basically like sludge. So they had to give me a bag of blood and a bag of saline to thin it out. And they had me go to somebody, like, again, because they were trying to tell me that sometimes, like, as people get older, there could be reasons that do it, or sometimes it just happens. Or people have this fucking issue where they have to go like once a month to go get like fucking blood given to them.
Or blood thinned, yeah.
So like I went and checked it. They said totally fine. They said come back one more time. I went back one more time a month later. They said you're totally fine. They said I don't know, maybe it was just a freak occurrence. Never happened again. That was the only time that ever happened. So like there was something up with my eyes and an issue with my blood.
Weird.
Yeah, I mean, if you even want to get into the whole idea of like the A on a horse, Horus flew and he fought. I got the same thing going on in my eyes. Flight and fight.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Oh.
Sure. Go ahead, man.
No, that was
it.
Oh.
And what I left with is that they thought that either I was having migraines and I had that blood issue. I forgot the name of. I never had fucking migraines before. I didn't even take the medicine they gave me. I was fine after I left the hospital. I was there for 3 days and left. They let me go.
So
you ran all these MRIs and all this crazy shit on me.
At any point, did you be like, no, bro, I did like a meditation where I focused on my pineal gland?
I told two of the doctors that shit.
Yeah.
They
were just like,
fucking with magic. Because at this point, I was like, I have no idea what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what I was wondering. Like, was it at that medical point of desperation where, like, I found myself before where, like, sometimes I'm not going to tell my doctor I smoke weed because I don't want your judgment. If I'm going in for anesthesia or need a medication, I'm going to tell you I smoke the weed so you can add that into your math. I was just wondering if it was like a medical situation where you're like, you know what, maybe the whole truth to my doctor, maybe that's the move. Because I don't know if I would have had the balls to be like, okay, all right, so actually what I did, if that helps at all. But the fact that they were dismissive, I mean, is shocking, but also not shocking.
No, it's not shocking at all, doctor.
There's no doctor house. So what am I thinking?
One that entertained it, actually.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
He actually came back and asked me more about it. I was like, what the fuck? When I told the eye doctor, not the one in the hospital, the one afterward, I was asking her, I was like, yo, is this like some way you can actually like look in the back of your head or some shit? I was like, I know that sounds crazy or some shit, or like, can something change with your eyes? And she's like trying to explain to me, like, she's like drawing the lens and like showing me how like light reflects off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, so like just like this fucking tattoo I have on my arm. Whatever. It's kind of hard to. And she's like looking at what she drew on the paper and looking at my arm, and she's like, that's really interesting. She's like, could you bring in I never brought it to her. She's like, could you bring in like your paperwork from the hospital? She's like, I'd actually like to look at everything. She's like, I do believe there's weird stuff out there we can't see. So she was actually interested. I never fucking brought her the paperwork.
You should follow up with her.
Oh God, that was like fucking 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm in a totally different state now. That was in New York. I'm in North Carolina.
It's
Yeah,
probably
it's definitely not happening now.
probably haunts her. Like, what was it?
She's like, yo, that one weird dude that came in, that the fuck was that?
I'll never figure that out.
Yeah.
Man.
So, I don't know. Was there any more you wanted to touch on the dark sun? I know that was another thing you.
Yeah, I think I pretty much, hit that. I think I'm pretty good on that. It's, I would actually say, believe it or not, I mean, start looking for eclipse symbolism. That shit's all over the place. I mean, we even have a show that's ready. It's probably dropping next month. That is like occult symbol, eclipse symbolism, and it's like you'd be surprised. Like it's fucking shit is actually very prevalent. It's just like you just used to it because it's something you see in the sky every once in a while. You don't think much about it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and it's a cyclical thing that has happened throughout humanity since the sun was up there and the moon was up there. So obviously, it's one of those things that we're going to pay attention to.
Yeah. You don't even. So same thing as the sun was in a picture. You may not even think much about it.
Yeah. Also, so much occult symbolism has been integrated into society over the last couple thousand years that you don't notice any of it anyway.
Yeah, it's all baked in at this point.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. I don't understand why, but
besides that, I don't know. Did you want to was there anything else? I know there was a couple of things I could have really talked about. Whatever you want to kick around, anything else?
Yeah.
Cool.
If there's anything else you want to talk about, go for it.
Do we have anything?
We don't really have anything on the agenda. Near-death experiences. We kind of touched on near-death experiences, and how. I think we kind of link that to the meditation,
okay,
which is the proper way to achieve what you're trying to achieve. I think the near-death experiences way, especially when it's intentional, I think there's something different there. I think there's something darker there. I think that's one of those things where you have to cross over physically so something else can hitch a ride back.
I think you can worry. Yeah, you have to worry about that.
Yeah, I think when you actually check out,
pick up crap, possibly you might pick up some junk coming back.
Yeah.
That's not the way to do it. That's where I'm at with.
Yeah, I think that kind of thing really draws that kind of stuff to you. That you're definitely you're coming back with something, and that's the kind of stuff the Bible warns on.
Do not interact.
When dabbling with this stuff, you open yourselves up to things like this, to other things hitching a ride back with you.
That's like that was even another thing. Like at some point, even when I was doing like rituals and stuff, like at some point I was just like, why am I asking these other motherfuckers to do shit for me? Like I'm just like I don't know. I just found it very weird. I was like, even Crowley says like people are slaves to the gods. I was like, I feel like when I'm even if it's like benevolent things that or at least I think I'm dealing with. Like, why am I'm still like a slave to them.
Asking them for stuff.
Yeah, I'm just like, why don't I just go straight to God? And like, for the most part, like the last year, probably a year and a half of my magical career was more of like theurgy. It was basically me doing my whole ritual stuff, and then I'm just praying to God and talking to Him. I wasn't going to those motherfuckers anymore. What's the point?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Why go to the lower G gods when there's the big G God up there?
Yeah. Right. I don't know. I even started looking at that in a different way, and it just, I don't know. It just didn't seem right. I don't know.
Well, for what it's worth, there's all the mysticism and woo-woo extra spiritual shit you can ever want for in the Catholic Church. You could do all kinds of extra stuff that's actually allowed. People just stop doing it. So
Oh, like I even
that's
think
the only
like
stuff.
doing
Yeah.
like the beads and stuff. I think all
Yeah, the
that is
rosary. Yeah.
Yep.
mantras like doing your meditations with the beads.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
Yep. Do it every day. Yeah.
Yep.
believe it or not,
Uh,
I think stuff like that and as silly as it sounds, prayer and meditation could get you real
Yeah.
far.
Yep.
Mhm.
Dab of holy water here and there, and
You know what's funny? I used to actually, it was so funny. Like he's thinking like, oh, this dude's in the OTO and he's an occultist and everything. Like I'm literally walking around the corner to go into the Catholic church over by me because they have a big vat of fucking holy water that I would go in and fill my bottle up with and bring home and use in my rituals.
right. Well, here's the thing. I think people automatically, when they hear the word occultist, they it's interchangeable with Satanist in most people's minds. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I know. Even using that word just makes me even sound messed up. But like, I don't know anything else to use.
Yeah, no, I mean,
the word has just a negative connotation to it already.
yeah, but like, and I think that's most people's problem is when they hear the word occultist, they automatically think Satanist, and they think contacting demons, the lower G gods, which a lot of times they are, but not always. There are people that I would consider occultists, well, very much like yourself. That it's all based on meditation and things like that, where it's like, all right, you're not ritually conjuring any specific deity or lowercase god or Nephilim, if you would, to get knowledge from to get ahead of humanity.
To get one over on the
Yeah,
rest of us.
to learn something, to cheat God in a way. You know what I mean? I want to sidestep God and get this knowledge that He has for myself. And that's where I think the danger is in occultists, people who do that. But no, like
I agree.
people who I would consider occultists, I would definitely not all say they're all Satanists. In fact, I would probably use the word mystic more than occultist for somebody like you, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, that's definitely more of the.
I would feel much more
fitting
comfortable
title.
calling you a mystic than an occultist,
Right.
to be honest.
Yeah.
I do tend to like that word. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be using that.
Because and that's the title of that the meditation practice in the Catholic Church, right? It's the mysticism, it's the mystics. That's that
Mystic.
prayer, deep meditation, and it already has a name, so
Yeah.
feel free to lean into that.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's
it's
just
basically
saying
the
you're
same
missing.
thing. And that's the I guess the big situation we find ourselves in, mostly here in America. But with all the different religions and a majority of them not acknowledging the spiritual side of this, not acknowledging the actual other spiritual realm that we interact with and interacts with us, with them ignoring that, um, the idea of the occult, the idea of the dark magic and all that stuff has been able to get out there without anything checking it, without anything saying, "Okay, sure, do your weird ritual, but instead, why don't you just do it this way? Why don't you just say this prayer? I don't know, spend 10 minutes thinking about the prayer that you just said. Like, do that instead." There hasn't been a society reflecting an other behavior for quite a while.
Yeah. And then also Hollywood,
Glorifies it.
glorifies the occult, the movies, people.
Yeah.
People
Who doesn't want to be a witch at some point?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So Hollywood does a good job of putting that
Oh,
satanic on the occult,
that really helps normalize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get three young chicks that are attractive and call it the craft. No, I'm charmed. You're already gonna get everybody who want to fucking do witchcraft now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm getting crap in the chat for not wearing a suit.
Oh, well, it's Saturday.
Well, you normally wear one?
That's been my thing lately. I've been wearing I wear a suit when I do this. But we were doing a lot of running around today, a bunch of stuff happening, and I was just like, it's freezing cold here. So I put a flannel on this morning, and so I'm sitting here in my flannel.
For the Sunday show, he wears a suit now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right.
So yeah, I apologize. I didn't dress fancy for you, sir.
Oh, no, quite all right. No offense taken. I mean, I'm no better. So
yeah. What's the weather like there in North Carolina?
well, believe it or not, it's cold. But I mean, it's not as cold as I guess New York. It's probably been in like 40s and 50s. But I mean, it'll be sunny.
Yeah, that's not bad. We're in Central Illinois, so it's been like in the teens around here.
Yeah, we got
Oh.
a wonderful warm day of 43.
Yeah, today was 43. It felt like it was 83.
It was delightful.
And then
That's
then that northwest or then that Midwest wind kicked in and it got freezing again.
And then it got very cold. And it actually felt like 43.
Oh,
And the icing on the cake was we drove an hour and a half because it was going to be a nice day to do some fishing, to do some nice day fishing. And wouldn't you fucking know it, the water was frozen solid.
yeah, we got to the river and the river was frozen solid.
Frozen solid. Yeah, so we
Yeah.
we had a fun little car ride.
Yeah, 3-hour round trip.
A little road trip today.
So
Yeah.
That sucks.
yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to touch on or what.
Honestly, anything else would probably end up taking up too much time. Like I was even thinking going into the eyeballs, that would be like a whole other show, really. So
yeah,
We
we'd
did.
be
close to an hour.
yeah, we'd be more than welcome to have you back another time. If you
Yeah,
have anything
sure.
else you want to talk about, you can always hit us up. We really enjoyed ourselves this conversation.
Oh yeah, thank you.
yeah.
I really appreciate you giving me the chance to tell my story. 'Cause-
No,
Oh,
dude,
yeah,
yeah,
man.
absolutely. Yeah. So, well, thanks for coming out, bud.
yeah.
Tell everybody where they can find you at, what you got coming up.
The Occult Rejects, all major podcasts and on BitChute, Rumble, and YouTube. Anything coming up? I do have one I also want to plug, the occultresearchinstitute.org. That's a website with a whole bunch of other collaborators, not just really me. A lot of other stuff on there from other people. Go check that out. It's free and it's a whole bunch of information. Going forward, really something I guess I could, what we're going to be doing is next Friday we'll be live showing symbolism with snakes and scorpions with with Mario from Symbolic Studies, me, Jin, Headless, and Lisa. So keep an eye out for that. If you have any listeners that don't know who I am and are interested in that shit, you can catch that live next Friday.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. If you liked listening to Nick here, definitely go follow him. He's a good dude.
Check out the backlog.
Yeah,
There's a lot of interesting episodes. I found like 3 of them that I'm going to listen to after this. That were the suggested next ones, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds interesting." Let me put that in the watch later. So,
Awesome.
thank you for coming out. Thank you for reaching out to us. We genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I had a good time with you that other time, so I was like, fuck it, I'll hit him up. You seemed interested in that shit I was talking about.
yeah. No, you'll always have an audience. So we might push back on certain things. We might not always agree on.
Oh no, yeah, I expect that.
But we obviously understand where you're
grown
coming
up
from.
and be civil about it. So I understand.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll point out the Catholic Church says this about this certain thing because that's kind of our angle. Obviously, if you look around, you know what I mean. That's really our angle.
Oh yeah, no, believe me, my one of the occult rejects is Teresa. She's a Catholic and she has to deal with her own bullshit just because of that.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet.
But yeah, no, but we're definitely open to this stuff. We understand it. We obviously know it's not bullshit because the Catholic Church,
they talk about it.
They talk about it. They have
a bad thing. They acknowledge it exists.
Policies on it. They acknowledge it exists, and that's enough for me.
They have their own mystics too. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of them were some badass people.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
So
that would be a cool series for. I'll DM you. We might work on that.
Oh yeah, that might work.
Series.
Yeah. Do like a little. Yeah, that would definitely be cool.
Yeah.
Do a collab.
Always down for that stuff. Yeah, I'm very interested in that stuff. I know some people again like Catholicism. There's a lot of smart motherfuckers that were Catholics.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the way that I'm starting to look at it is you have to look at Catholicism as if it was a nation, as if it was Germany, as if it was London or United Kingdom, as if it was Ireland, right? You have to look at it as its own nation, and we have to acknowledge that that shit changes over time. You can't control what a people does, right? They're subject to the world that they found themselves born into, and how they act is on them. We can't write off all of Germany because of mustache man, can we? We can't. So we can't write off all of Catholicism because of a handful of bad people. And the one thing that people always like to say about the Catholics is that they like to diddle little boys. And I'm just here to say that per capita, they ain't that bad.
Per capita, yeah.
And one other thing that happens in every religion.
And that's what I'm saying. Per capita, it's not. They're not that bad.
Yeah.
Because for every single one of these non-denominational fucking money mills, there's a youth pastor who is no longer a youth pastor because they didn't go to the police. There's somebody who's been gotten away with it because, you know what I mean? Like it happens throughout all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Those
part of
icky
society.
people,
Evil people will do
those
evil things and
yeah,
they'll find ways to access
those icky
prey.
people make their
Yeah.
way into churches to corrupt it because anything good, there must be an attack on it. So
Well, you're just a sick fucking. You see a good situation. I'll be around kids.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You
Yep.
just you slide into your bad guy brain, you let the intrusive thoughts win, and
Yeah.
that's
But
you
yeah,
know.
just like there's good kings and bad kings, there's been good popes and bad popes. You take the good with the bad, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Just like there's good people and bad people in the occult world, and you know what I mean. And you can't all be lumped in together.
Yeah, we're not all that bad. Some are,
Right.
but not all.
Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
you.
It's
I
the
appreciate that.
same principle, though. You know what I mean? It's you got to look at things as a bigger than just a small group. You got to look at things as a whole. You know what I mean? Whenever you look at anything as a whole, there's a good side, there's a bad side, there's a big in between of like nothing. You know what I mean? Neutral, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. All right, buddy. It's been really good. We're just hitting an hour. Thanks for coming on. You are always welcome to come back.
Thank
Emily,
you. Yeah, I definitely would like to talk to you about that mystic stuff because I already see Teresa getting excited in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife will get a hold of you to work something out with that. But yeah, I would really like to do that. I really look forward to doing something like that.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Awesome, bud. Well, you have a good evening. Thank you again. And everybody have a good night.
Later.